That's cool. That's cool. So as I said, like from what I remember, you were doing pretty good client-wise. And from what I understand, you already had the system for getting them. So yeah, I was wondering, okay, what made you come up with the cold email machine? Maybe you can share what you were doing before, okay, get a little bit
Yeah,
specific there, and then what forced you to like to create this.
sure. So I've for years now, I haven't had any problem getting clients, and I don't. And what I did, it's not like it stopped working or it doesn't work or anything like that. All of the old approaches work, whether that's a reverse consultation, finding a gated community, paid community, integrating yourself in there, and getting clients, getting the partnering with the owner, whatever it happens to be. Uh, Highly personalized, cold outreach. Um, all of that still works. The problem with it is it doesn't it doesn't feel you have to actively work it to keep the pipeline full. So that was fine for me. I was totally fine working on big one-off projects, getting a big payday, and then if I work with that client again, great. If not, and there's some sort of lag time for the next project, I was already in a position where that doesn't matter. I'm totally fine with that because overall, I know that I'm going to get the next client. And it's like, if it's a couple weeks with my lifestyle, it's like, great, I get 2 weeks off to go screw around in another country. It's like, cool, that was fine. But that sort of changed when my son was born. And after that, so he was born, I was working really hard, and I also went through a pretty severe case of burnout. So I basically didn't work at all for about 6 months. And I realized that, I mean, so I got back to work, and then maybe because I hadn't been working for a long time, I had one of my best months ever. I sold like $30,000 worth of stuff. That's not money collected, that was sales, and that was collected over time. But I had a really good month after taking half a year off. But I didn't want the roller coaster given the family dynamic, new family dynamic, and given that I'd gone through that burnout, and I wasn't ready to work as hard as I had in the past. Family, just being older than I was when I started. um, all of these things stacked up, and I was like, okay, how can I apply what I know with automation? How can I automate and scale what I know? So I don't have to go through the let's find the next thing, even if it's not that difficult. It's still, what if I can take the energy from that, whether it's, I don't know, 40 hours or 20 hours or 10 hours, and compress that down to as close to zero as possible? What would that look like? Initially, I tried ads, but I'll keep getting accounts shut down. So it's like, I can write a good ad. I can get people to click on an ad, but I'm not so good with the tech side of things. So eventually I landed on cold email, and all of it just clicked pretty much immediately. The tech setup, not difficult with, like, there are great programs out there you can join. There are great YouTube videos out there. Like, pretty much anyone can figure out the tech part of cold email in half an hour or an hour, whatever it is. It'll take a little longer to set up the first time, but it's stupidly simple. It's cheap. It's like, okay, I'm going to buy 10 domains. That's $100, $120. They're each going to have a Google Workspace account, $720 a month. So it's like my hard cost is $72 a month, basically. And I'm going to be able to reach thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of my ideal prospects, and not all of them are going to respond, but some are. So in part, it was, I wanted more automation. If we think about starting with the end in mind, it's like the end goal is to have so much, oh, looks like my family came home. 1 sec, I'd better let them in.
Take your time.
I'm going to have to change locations. Just a second.
That's good.
Thomas, sweetie, I'll have to talk to you when I'm off the phone, okay? You show me your rock and everything else that you did, all right? But for now, play with Grandma and Grandpa for a couple more minutes, okay? All right.
Are your parents like in Uzbekistan, or like are your like wife's parents there?
My wife's parents.
All right. Yeah. Oh yeah,
They're
Canadian. You're from Canada, yeah.
they're Russian, and we were not going to go to Russia, so
Yeah,
we
gotcha.
decided to meet here. I might just take my video down if that's okay.
Yeah, don't worry. Yeah, sure.
So really the goal has always been, well, actually, if you want even more context, I also don't see myself as a copywriter. Copywriting is one thing that I do. The first business I started was like in SEO, and I immediately started hiring people. So I'm actually I'm more of a marketing strategist who happens to write copy because it's something I do very well. So also in terms of what I wanted to do career-wise, I don't want like 20 email marketing clients or funnel clients or anything like that. I want to actually build the business and do the strategy. And for that, to build that, I needed something more than manual one-to-one outreach. Or at least that might be an error in judgment, but that was my belief, that I needed something that allowed me to reach more people, actually have a backlog of business in the pipeline, and all these other things. So I sort of lost my train of thought there when we had the break, but yeah, those are some of the reasons why I've made the switch to cold.
All right, that's good. And you kind of answered like okay, the other question I had, which is like okay, how is it different than other client getting methods you've used in the past? And yeah, you basically said that you wanted like generate leads and clients on demand. And I'm guessing like okay, I've personally done the reverse consultation, as you know, and I had like lots of success with it. And I've kind of done the paid community, the gated communities, but yeah, those take time. Like, I mean, you have to be like very strategic with who you go after. You might go hop on some reverse consultation calls that don't lead to any business, and then you've spent like a bunch of money like basically for nothing, and it's just like one guy you talk to. So yeah, generating like. But would you say that there's like anything else that's different than all the other methods you have used, or is it just like the ability to generate like demand on command, as you said in your VSL?
Yeah, so yeah, that's a really good question. I think there are a couple things, but a couple other things. I'll just say some things that I know about my experience with cold email. Let's see if they're different or not. So with cold email, there's almost no like maintenance. It's not entirely set and forget. And of course, if you're booking calls, then yeah, you have to get on calls. So it's like, okay, but the actual machine, like I don't have to log in and check my ad manager stats, or I don't have to worry about compliance issues. I don't have to come up with new creative. It's not set and forget, but it's about as close as you're going to reasonably get with anything that is actually going to work. There is some response handling when people have questions, but that can be outsourced on the cheap, or you can do it yourself relatively quickly. And most of the questions repeat. Hey, do you have case studies? Hey, like how much is it? You'll very quickly have a library of responses that you can copy paste. So the time savings is a big part of it. I like that because my lifestyle is very chaotic, I can step away for a day or be sick for a week and the leads keep coming in. Both of those have happened multiple times, and calls keep getting booked and people keep responding, and it just keeps working even if I'm not looking at it. It doesn't work quite as well because I'm not actively handling all the responses maybe, but it's it's still as close to like that goal of having a big pool of pent-up demand, more demand than I could possibly handle. I literally, the first campaign I ran, I had to shut it off in the third week I was running it because I couldn't handle the call volume. So that is not necessarily realistic for everyone, but for me, I know my audience, I know my offer. I've been doing this for the better part of a decade. And for me, I got results immediately. I don't expect, anyone or everyone or necessarily anyone else to do that. But with my with whatever factors I had going in my favor, it was literally my first campaign. The first day I had responses. The second day I had responses. I was booking calls. Like the second week I was getting on those calls, et cetera, et cetera. We're sort of going down the rabbit hole, but I mean, I guess those are potentially like those are differences. If you're doing a bunch of manual outreach, you're doing a bunch of research, you're painstakingly crafting your outreach message to cut through the noise, right? You're figuring out what angle are you even going to use. Doing a free sample? Am I doing an audit? Am I just pitching myself, right? You have a lot of decisions to make. With this, it's just you set it up, you let it run, and if your scripts don't suck, then you book calls. If they suck, you try something else.
Yeah, that's good. And you kind of brought up like a good point because okay, you already had almost a decade's worth of experience in this specific like niche, which is like okay, the e-learning space. And yeah, I mean, it really helps to know, okay, those are my people, those are like the clients I serve. I know what they want, I don't know what their struggles are. So yeah, it's very easy for me to craft an offer that's gonna resonate with them. So yeah, that's very cool. Um, so yeah,
Before
go
you get
ahead.
to the next one, if I may, one other thing that makes it's not, I don't know if I'd say makes it different, but makes it valuable / different, is it forces, like for those of us who are freelancers, as opposed to say agency owners, it forces us to be real about our offer because most of us do everything completely ad hoc, right? Where it's like, we're only speaking to, none of us are taking on 20 clients at a time. So we're not thinking about a productized offer, something that's anything that's repeatable at all. A client comes and says, hey, can you also do my about me page or my bio? And you're like an email marketer. 99% of copywriters will be like, yeah, of course I can do that. Whatever. It's $250 or it's $1,000. Like we have as a freelancer, almost by definition, we don't have boundaries because we're like, yes, I'll take the work. Of course I'll take the work. But if you're going outbound, you are forced to come up with an offer and actually test it and get market feedback in a way that you never have to do when you're talking to one individual at a time. It's like, oh, I'm just going to sort of bend myself around this business and do what this business wants this time. With cold email, you don't get to do that. It's like, I'm going to be this person. This is who I am. This is what I do. This is what my offer is. And now you have to test that. And the market has to say, we like this or we don't. And you don't get to hide behind the fact that you're only talking to like one or two or whatever, 5 businesses at a time, whatever it is, small numbers. So that I think is in and of itself invaluable, even though it doesn't show up in your bank account like tomorrow or something like that.
That was actually pretty good. So I wonder if we could dig a little bit deeper. And yeah, I mean, one question I have is you probably have an idea about who your audience is going to be when we launch this. So based on what you know about them, why would you say that having a productized offer is so freaking important to them? Because the minute you said, oh, I'm writing emails, but hey, would you like to write the homepage? I was like, oh, that's me, that's me. So can you make a case about why you should like, no, you should say no and just stick to one productized offer? What are like the benefits and what are, yeah, can we wrap on this a little bit?
Sure. I think I think it's the value, the long-term value of other people knowing what to reach out to you for, right? Because there's the short term, there's short term money in saying yes to everything. And when you're getting started, I mean, I'm not sure I would say don't do that. Try all the things and see what you like. I think there's value in that. And I think there's even value maybe in stepping outside your box once in a while and trying some new things. But in terms of 95% of what you do, if you say, I'm going to do whatever, I'm going to be the email marketing guy and I'm going to work with e-commerce companies, then the people in that market can know you for that thing. But if you're bouncing from market to market and service to service, then I can't, like, there are so many talented copywriters out there that if someone reaches out to me and says, hey, I'm looking for a copywriter, or I have this type of business, I'm looking for a copywriter, like, I don't have any idea if any of these 10 people would be a good match, because I don't like, whereas one specific person who is the copywriter for that niche or the copywriter for that type of copy, it's like, obviously I'm going to tell them about this person for VSLs, this person for, if even though Joel Irway doesn't really focus on webinars anymore, if you say webinars, I think Joel Irway. He is the first and only name that comes to mind, in part because I've also worked with the guy. So, I mean, it's doubly reinforced, but it's like, that's what you want. It's like, yes, you want to make money tomorrow, but a year from now, you want to have so many people who want to work with you that you don't even have to send cold emails. You want to have that latent demand. And the only way to actually get there is to have a bunch of people know what you do and be interested in working with you on it. And that is the reason to have a productized offer, like a thing that you do, even if you do say yes to some extra stuff here or there. I like variety too. Yeah. Like even for this offer, if I'm saying, hey, cold email, but then also I start talking about, I don't know, organic TikTok strategy. Here's how to go viral on TikTok. You're like, what does Andrew do? He's selling shiny objects like all the other BizOp people. But no, we're talking about cold outreach.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. How would you reply to someone who said that, you know what, Andrew, I'm kind of worried that there's like, okay, so much opportunity out there that if I actually do a productized offer, yeah, I'm gonna miss out on all those like opportunities. How would you respond to a question like this?
Two things. One is having a productized offer does not stop you from going after any other opportunities that you want to. It is your home base, and you're allowed to leave home base. The thing is that when you have your home base, your productized offer, that's your home base, you're going to have tens and eventually hundreds and eventually thousands of people know your address and know to find you at home base. And those people can always find you at home base, right? Even if you choose to go down the street, around the block, whatever, to the next city over, you can do that, but you should still spend most of your time at home base, where people, if you do this right and are consistent over time, people will be ringing your doorbell, leaving flyers under your door, whatever, calling on you.
Great analogy, man. Love this. Love this. Great. Good stuff. So, yeah, I mean, then, okay, let's move on with like another question. And this is, okay, what type of challenges you faced while putting together the cold email machine system, and how did you overcome them? And specifically, I asked not only about like, okay, tech challenges, but also about, okay, mindset challenges, because maybe you have them, maybe you didn't, but I'm guessing some people might have like issues with, oh, cold email is bad, or I am not sure who to target. So can you talk about like your personal challenges you had while you were putting this together?
Yeah,
If you
so
had them, yeah.
the main one was definitely that I'm used to doing everything highly, highly personalized. So I was about at the farthest possible other end of the spectrum from mass unpersonalized cold email. because I would pick one target and I would spend however long I needed to land that target. Like with Neil Patel, really my first client of any significance. I did have one Upwork gig before that as a copywriter slash marketer. That was 2 to 3 months of stuff. I joined one of his programs. I went through the program. I got lots of results in the program. I showed him the results in the program. And at some point I said, hey, I'm getting all these great results, like traffic and opt-ins and stuff, but I'm not making much revenue. Can I work for you? Is there something I can do in your business for free in return for additional mentoring support, something like that? He ended up paying me as a marketing consultant, and everything sort of blew up from there. But like, that's the sort of, I wasn't doing maybe that sort of insane level of risk reversal at this point in my career, but it's still slow, manual, like highly specific. And to go from that to really anyone within the general target niche, right? E-learning. Any of the 50,000 businesses there, or any of the whatever 600,000 people with a ClickFunnels account, or you name it, right? To go almost the maximum in the other direction, the maximum that would make sense. Like any broader than that would be just spam, right? Like if I was going for e-learning and e-commerce and I don't know, industrial whatever builders, that's absurd. But yeah, it was making the shift that this can work. It can work for me. It can work for the style in which I acquire clients. So for me, it was going from like, even within cold email, part of my struggle was coming up with that offer that could actually go to multiple people, because I was used to doing everything as a one-off. And to figure out, okay, this is my standard scope of work. Yes, they can, like, if they ask for something, I can tack that on for an extra fee, or it can be yeah, I can move off of that scope of work, but I at least have to say, okay, I have package A and I have package B, and these are the things that I sell people. That was really freaking hard for me, because especially like, because I'm also, lots of people see me as a copywriter, but I've never seen myself that way. Like even with Neil, I wrote a lot of copy, but I was also doing consulting. I worked on every type of business, pre-revenue startup, funded pre-revenue startup, not funded, 8-figure, 9-figure business, like in every possible niche, basically. I've literally worked in over 100 discrete niches, not like biz op A, biz op B, but 100 discrete niches. So I was used to doing all the things, and understanding maybe not all of marketing, but as close to it as I possibly could. And so for me to be the ultimate generalist, to narrow down to, this is the one thing I'm going to talk about, oh my God, that was hard. That was painful. And that's what took the most time and energy and effort, psychological and physical, in order to say, okay, I'm going to commit to this thing, I'm going to try this thing, and we'll see what happens. Hey, thanks a lot for listening to the first part of my interview about the cold email machine. And if I could leave you with one idea, it's that even if you do a simplified version of this, or your own version of cold outreach, the main thing is to have some sort of system in place that is going to generate leads for you, generate conversations with new prospects before you need your next client. Because the worst thing for any freelancer or service provider, the worst situation you can end up in, is your best client leaves and you have no one to replace them with. So building your own cold email machine, that's a great way to do that. And if you'd like some help, then you can always reach out to me on Facebook and we can discuss having me build your cold email machine for you. And either way, I would highly recommend finding the link below this podcast and checking out part 2.